everybody?
Very good.
Good to see you. If you'll please rise, Karen, give an invitation for us. Whoever touches the flag.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day. We open this meeting by asking for your peace. You are our peace, our source of all peace, and we can find our peace in you. We ask that you would help us to approach this meeting with a spirit of peace and harmony. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next order of business is reading and approval of the previous minutes.
I'll make a motion that they be approved.
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? All in favor, right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. We have one old business item, Rezone, which was tabled from February the 10th. RZ 190878, Mr. Al-Saeedi.
Okay, I'm going to start by incorporating the entirety of my office's file and video recording of the Planning Commission's hearing, including but not limited to all witness testimony. In order that this information be made part of the record, it shall be available for the Board of Commissioners to review. And I'm also going to add that all future development that's recommended tonight shall comply with applicable codes to ensure that all residential structures on the property meet safety regulations and protect the health and welfare of surrounding residents. So, RZ 190878 is for Mr. Abass Al-Saeedi. It's located on Allred Road in Jasper. Property is currently zoned ag and they're requesting to take 19.84 acres to estate residential. That parcel number is 053006 and the intent is to subdivide the existing lot into a 5-lot subdivision. You can see on the map behind you, it shows the location. Currently it is ag, there's ag to the north and then ag on either side of it with adjoining rural residential as well. It is in, and this is supposed to actually say, sorry, I don't know how to do this. Forgot to plug in my thing, previous, sorry. This is actually the suburban residential character area. I forgot to change that on the PowerPoint, but it's suburban residential as you can see by the star that's indicated right there on the map. It does, the lower right-hand corner falls into the rural residential character area, but over 80% of the parcel is suburban residential. So with that, the primary land use is mixed residential uses and densities. So it is consistent with that. And after reviewing the application, staff recommends approval of the rezone request for the 19.84 acres on parcel 053006 from ag to estate residential for the development of a 5-lot subdivision. This change aligns with the surrounding land uses and enhances property values and supports responsible land utilization.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Mr. Scoggins?
Yes, sir.
You're representing Mr.
I am.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I have a presentation here. Says,
Which one?
should be the one that says Pickens County.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Joshua Scoggins with the law firm of VanDerWalt Scoggins. I'm here on behalf of Abass Al-Saeedi. You might remember this application, I believe, from last year. We're seeking a rezoning from agriculture to estate residential for just under 20 acres for a 5-lot single-family detached subdivision. Go to the next slide. As you know, you already know where the property is there on Allred Mill Road. And we adjoin property zoned ag to the north of us, I believe, and zoned rural residential to the south of us. As the staff indicated, this is for the most part in the suburban residential character area. And we're only asking to go to a state residential for 3 acre lots.
There you go.
And this is the site plan, that may be a little bit difficult to read. But this is the layout of the 5 proposed lots. Again, each one will exceed the standards for the zoning district. This property could be zoned for far more intense residential use based on the future land use map. But our client is seeking simply to carve up a minor subdivision on a 20 acre tract. I won't go back through all of the suburban character area. Again, like she said, part of it at the very southern corner is rural residential, but the rest of it is suburban residential. Your staff is supportive of this. I know there are people here tonight who have issues with other things that my client may have done with the property before all of this started, but none of that has any bearing on the zoning of the property. It's consistent with the surrounding land uses and zonings. It's consistent with the development trend in the area. Again, it's very low impact. It's not going to require a lot of mass grading of the site in terms of trying to move dirt and fill from one side to the other. It's consistent with your comp plan, and so with that, I'd ask that you recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Please remain standing if you will. So originally we were 4 lots with the green space, and now we're 5. What caused that change?
My client met with his engineer and decided on a 5 lot plan. I'm not, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why the change from 4 to 5. I assume that it has something to do with trying to maximize the yield. Because I guess I'm thinking a state residential has no open space requirement. I could be wrong on that, yeah. So the idea was to avoid, if I'm understanding my client correctly, I don't like putting open space in neighborhoods that are this small because you have to have a property owners association to own and maintain it. Well, 4 houses doing that is not necessarily a great idea. It's probably better that all the property be owned by individual homeowners. So I believe that was one of the reasons why he decided to go 5 lots. I told him having open space is great until you have to do assessments to maintain an area, and it's not spread out over 500 houses, it's spread out over 4. So I think it would be better served to have individuals maintaining the
Have you been
properties.
to the site?
I have.
So I was out there a couple of weeks ago just refreshing myself about it. There's I want to call it a ravine, but how is he going to fill that in and provide for the drainage that I assume typically will flow from that during heavy rains? And then I couldn't tell how many are there going to be 5 driveways off?
There's going to be, I think, 1 driveway that's going to access all of the parcels. Let me pull up that site plan again.
Yep.
Do you mind if I approach, because I can't really read that well. That common driveway, which runs along the southern boundary, I believe serves all of the lots
Right there?
behind it. Yes, sir.
It was 2 roads, one
It's right
above
there.
and one down below.
That's correct. This one right here is a common driveway to serve these 2 lots. This is 1 driveway to serve the remaining 3.
And who's gonna maintain those 2 roads?
The easement holders and the individual lot owners. So you're gonna have, everybody in the back's gonna have an easement across each lot in front of them to get to the main road. It's up to those 5 individuals to maintain those easement driveways.
And it looks as if there's going to be, the stream that's down there splits, basically making 2.
Right.
And then there's another one up here, so we're gonna have some bridges to maintain as well. And there's a spring head
That's correct.
that goes onto other people's property.
That springhead does, the streams always cross property, and yes, we will. We can't get within 50 feet of that, within clearing the grading, so that's why we've located the buildings where we have. I mean, the idea is not to go in and try to pipe streams or encroach into stream buffers. So that's one of the other reasons I think the water on the site lends itself to more of a larger lot neighborhood.
So the two roads that they're accessing off of, are those going to be paved? And what
I'm,
kind of
ass-
bridges are we looking at over those streets?
I'm not sure about the bridges. I'm assuming, again, assuming it's dangerous, but I'm thinking that you're gonna have at the very least gravel, but in order to maintain those driveways properly, they're probably gonna be asphalt. But they're not going to be built with a 50-foot right of way to the county subdivision road standards with curb and gutter and
I
all
was
that.
concerned about all the drainage.
We can certainly keep them impervious if we don't want water running off asphalt. But I can check with my client on that for a good question. And crossing the streams also. If I had to bet, I'd say that lot in the back is gonna have to be very expensive. Cross that creek twice.
Aren't we getting involved in curb and gutter?
We're not. You only have to curb and gutter if you're doing lots that are less than 3 acres. And since these are all gonna exceed 3 acre lots, it's not gonna requirement to curb and gutter. But on, just to address the drainage issues that could come out of development, I went and walked this site with EPD a couple weeks ago and addressed the initial concerns. Once they get ready to develop this as a minor subdivision, it will require a land disturbance plan be filed and submitted to the state. That will detail all of their erosion, whether it be retention ponds or whatever measures to keep the runoff from impacting the land. So. And that has to be, again, that would have to be approved before any further site work is done.
So, Mr. Scoggins,
Yes.
I've been a resident of Pickens County for 20+ years, and I've seen what happens when gravel roads are in place and there are less than perfect covenants to address those roads. And you end up with some people willing to contribute and others not, and it becomes a squabble in an unpleasant situation. How's your applicant planning to address that?
I have dealt with that situation more times than I care to remember, so I certainly understand your concern. We're willing to agree to a condition to impose subdivision covenants on the property. You're exactly right. Where this gets hairy is when you don't have a maintenance agreement in place for all those roads. We're amenable to putting a maintenance agreement in place, and frankly, I've already advised it because I have seen this slow motion train wreck many times before, and it's not good. You're exactly right. The guy in the back doesn't want to pay to maintain the road across other people's properties and vice versa, and we end up in court, and I'd rather avoid that up front.
So, why didn't Mr. Al-Saeedi want to pave roads other than money?
Oh, I'm sure that cost had a lot to do with it. But at the same time, you've got county standards and you've got runoff requirements. And there's no problem with, I'm a North Georgia boy too, and I've seen it. I grew up on a gravel road. As long as the gravel roads are maintained, just like you've surmised, they're just as easily to traverse, they're just as easy to traverse as asphalt, and it would stop the runoff because it's pervious. I can certainly ask him whether he'd be willing to put asphalt down, but again, the more cost you put into those roads, the more burden you're putting on these houses financially. And I would rather button it up with an airtight maintenance agreement coupled with easement agreements that are going to be submitted on the minor plat. That's a condition I think I can work out with Mr. Freaky and the planning department.
Further question for Mr. Scoggins before we get into the other speakers? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lowe, I've got you listed as a speaker. Come forward, please. We want to see you.
Not much left to see anymore. I'm Riker Lowe, I live on Mineral Springs, and some of the things that the fine solicitor said, well, I disagree with. My family's had a farm directly across the property for 42 years, and I've lived there for 23. And some of the things I can't disagree more with. Number one, there's at least a dozen children that come through a set of S-curves there where this supposed driveway would be. I can't see right off where the driveway would be. It's in a set of S-curves. There's at least a dozen children and a school bus that goes through there. And I haven't done a traffic survey, but I can tell you somebody's lived there for 23 years. More people go through that road in a week, in a day, than used to go through there in a week. I can promise you it is not gonna raise any property value over there. The only thing that has changed, save for nothing, when the gentleman took all the trees down from the plants. Last time it was 4, now it's 5, to maximize his value, not the rest of us. You wouldn't have 30 some odd, 40 some odd people signing a petition if it wasn't for the good of the community and the safety of the community. The road's already curving. That's not gonna help any. It's not gonna improve any land values over there. I promise you, it's not gonna improve any land values. And we could make some easements, we could do this, you could do all kinds of things. Last time there was a green space. There's not a green space in there because the green space is around the whole place. It's been butchered. Everybody likes trees and the runoffs and how you did before. Well, we can change it now. That doesn't work too good. It's not gonna help any of the rest of the community, the safety, nor the community. And the maximizing value on his part is not maximizing on our part. He's gonna be on the road. Maybe we have concrete, maybe we have asphalt, maybe we have gravel, maybe we have streams, maybe we have 2 driveways, maybe we have 4 houses, maybe we have 5. There's a lot of people that spent decades over there trying to make it look like something. Not judging on what the houses may look like, but it's not gonna help the greater good for the community nor the safety. And I disagree with how it corresponds with the surrounding area. If you've ever been down that road, it doesn't correspond with the surrounding area. There are plenty of subdivisions within half a mile or a mile or 2 miles, plenty of subdivisions already ready without tearing up this piece of land which has already been tore up. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. John Bogus, come forward.
Appreciate you letting me speak. Mr. Scoggins gave you in his exact words, the reasons you should decline this tonight. And that is, there will be no major dirt moved. And based off of his 2 driveways coming up, the southernmost driveway is at least a 50% incline coming up to Allred Mill Road. That northernmost driveway is probably a 90% incline as it hits Allred Mill Road. There's no way without major dirt being moved that's not a major safety issue. I mean, there's just no way. There's not any amount of concrete or gravel that saves that from being a safety issue. And
You talk about the primary driveway.
both of them. I mean, there's such an incline coming up that ravine without major dirt being moved. It is a straight up, the way this is drawn is straight up. And there's no way entering Allred Mill Road that's not a safety issue for those cars entering Allred Mill Road. And with 5 houses there, that's at least 10 cars from this subdivision entering that road, and as Riker has pointed out, right upon coming out of those S-curves. There's no way that's not a safety concern. Just based on that alone, Mr. Scoggins made a case for this being declined. Now, let alone the other notes I made, The fact that, and I think y'all have gotten what was prepared, that there's been no changes other than just the addition of a house. There is no other zoning out there similar to this. The safety issue I just pointed out. And also the fact that, I mean, what's filled this room is the fact that this developer's done nothing right this whole time he's been out there, and that's what's upset the whole neighborhood. The fact of, we mentioned last time, he piled gravel right in our right of way coming out of our road that wasn't even on his property. Didn't move that until we brought it up in this hearing last time. And the fact that you basically have stripped the land and as you have seen the pictures, has not put up the proper material to keep the washing from happening. I mean, nothing has been done right, and we just see this being a disaster from the go. So, but the primary issue here is there's no way to access this property with driveways like this is laid out. There's just not. So appreciate you letting me speak.
Thank you, sir.
Can I speak in?
Yes.
I'll make it
I'll
short.
allow you.
I'm Miles Phillips, I'm Rocker's next door neighbor. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. I've been in the grading business for 26 years. What he's talking about with those driveways, it's 100 foot down and 100 foot back. And he said he's not gonna do mass grading. To cross those creeks, it's gonna take a lot of dirt. It's a 2-to-1 to 1-to-1 slope to access. And if he's gonna try to pipe that, you're talking 100 foot of pipe for each driveway. And if he doesn't get a hydrology study done, the water, I've seen that water way up when it rains hard. And you wanna talk about erosion and stuff washing out, and you think you're gonna put gravel on that, and it's gonna stay on a 2-to-1 to incline, it's not gonna work. And as far as him cutting the trees and everything, I'm friends with a guy that was supposed to buy the logs from him, and he got shut down because he didn't have an LDP. He was planning on scalping the whole property and selling all the timber before he developed it, so he could maximize his profit.
What's an LDP?
Land disturbance permit, yeah, that he didn't get. So that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Scoggins,
Sure.
there's some folks unhappy with your plan. How would you address their concerns?
Well, I always liken zoning to, I didn't bring my spreadsheet or my flow chart, but I'm sure that Mr. Phillips understands this. I have a flow chart that was given to me 20 years ago, and in the top left-hand corner, it says rezoning. And then about 700 steps later, you get to final build out. I can tell you that if it's not financially viable to develop this property the way the site plan dictates, it won't be developed. My client, or anybody for that matter, I represent most of the big national home builders. They're not gonna buy or develop a piece of property if they're gonna lose money doing it. I have no disagreement. If the grades are too high and they have to go in, the reason I say no mass grading is because to grade and balance, cut and fill across that site would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're talking about having to sell houses that may be well over $1 million to justify the cost of trying to access those lots in the back, crossing that stream. All of these things come into play. And so there are rules in place that deal with drainage, that deal with grading, that deal with minimum slopes. And all of those things come when we get to the development phase. I don't want to go back into the past because I wasn't part of the project when some of the clearing and all that stuff was going on, but it's my understanding that Mr. Al-Saeedi didn't need a permit, so he cut his trees down. And then he came through for rezoning, and I think a lot of that fed into, okay, well, we can't trust this developer. Well, again, I think the best way to know that you can trust the developer is whether or not it's gonna make them money. And if it's not gonna make them money, they're not gonna do it. So 4 lots or 5 lots, the property zoning in and of itself has no bearing on who the applicant is, whether it's physically feasible or not. All of that stuff, I promise, I'm sure Mr. Reese's office and EPD and everybody else is gonna get into that. And I have seen it, and I've been doing this over 20 years too. And I would say that it might be pretty hard to get those driveways to go up a grade that steep to get to the back. But again, that has no bearing on the zoning. If he wanted to make it more financially viable, he would come in with a residential subdivision with more lots so that he could spread that cost out over those lots. But he didn't do that. So he's obviously planning to build very expensive houses because it costs a lot of money to develop. Running water lines, even gravel and asphalt. But I agree, crossing those streams could very well be $250,000 each. I've seen them as high as $5 million. If it's not in the budget to cross that creek, rest assured, last thing he wants to do is cross that creek. So this is conceptual, and once we get to the development phase, we will drill down into all those things. On a site this size, it's theoretically possible to engineer the entire site prior to zoning, but that's almost never done because you want to know whether you can even do anything before you go spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on engineers. So all I would ask the planning commission focus on is the zoning of the property. Whether or not this can come to fruition, it doesn't matter again whether it's zoned ag, whether it's zoned for apartments or anything else. The development of it will be dictated at a maximum of 5 lots, and he'll have to determine whether it's financially feasible. I'm not gonna say whether it is or not, because I'm not sure what he plans to sell them for, but it's a difficult site. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's not.
When he was here 6 months ago, whenever it was, he suggested they were gonna be $500,000.
I'm not sure that they could be built that inexpensively to do
It
this.
seems to be a little low to me based on
I
seeing.
would agree.
Would you buy $1 million house on a gravel road?
No, absolutely. I mean, I've got people across, I don't live in one, can't afford to live in one, but I have a neighborhood across my subdivision that has $1 million houses, and they're all accessed off gravel driveways.
But not the steepness of what we're talking about.
No, not the grades you're talking.
Have you been on both sides of this equation in your career as an attorney, both a developer as well as?
Very, very rarely I have represented neighborhood groups, but no, I represent builders and developers, that's no secret. Mr. Fricke's been after me for 20 years on the government side of this, but I'm somebody who's gonna tell you what I think and what I know. I know it's expensive, I can tell by looking at it. Just walking up that hill tells me that it's gonna be, these houses are gonna be well over $750,000 if they cost a dime.
Yeah, you don't get much house anymore.
No, you don't. Saw one on an 8,000 square foot lot last week that had an unfinished basement, 2 stories, and it was $997,000.
Well, let me ask you this, how do you think this commission should balance the concerns for safety and other issues raised here by the folks that have been living there for
Sure.
most of their lives?
The safety concerns about having the driveways onto the main road, you're talking on a subdivision like this, the traffic, I think everybody can agree, is going to be negligible. At most, you're gonna have probably 2 cars who might come in and go out 2 or 3 times a day, if that. This could be, again, it's from a safety standpoint, and I've driven down the S-curve and I get it. That is not something that I would fret over a 5-lot neighborhood. If this were 500 lots, we'd be talking about a whole different ball of wax. The water concerns those are addressed by the county and the state. And I have fought with EPD long enough to know that's not something you mess around with. If he's not putting up proper silt fence, if he's not making sure that the water stays retained on the site and reduces the rate of flow, he's gonna get fined, and it's gonna be heavily. I've seen them as high as $15 million. So, again, one like this, with all the attention on it, EPD's watching. I mean, you went out and walked the site with them, which is unheard of. I've done projects over 2,000 acres that EPD didn't care about till after they were started. So the fact that they came out ahead of time means they're paying close attention. We have worked with some of the neighbors to facilitate encroachments that they have onto our site, including water meters, fences, and other things. We haven't gone after them to tear all that stuff down and move it. He has tried to work with people to allow them to keep what they've got there.
Are you talking about this site?
This site, there are encroachments from neighboring property owners on both sides of it. And we have done our best to try to work with those people. I think my client understands it was a mistake to cut the trees down ahead of time. Not something I would have advised, but all I can do is try to fix to the best of my ability what we got now. So I think that this zoning is more than justified under the law. Leaving it ag when it's shown for suburban residential is not a constitutional zone. And I just think that, again, economics are gonna dictate whether this comes to fruition more than land use decisions. So I would again encourage the planning commission to recommend approval of the plan because the staff support it and the comp plan support it. Those are the two primary considerations.
Well, the third one is a constituent.
Which again, my client also is a constituent. And the uses across the street, with all due respect, just looking at the aerial, I'm not so sure how agricultural those uses are. They may be legal non-conforming, but I would submit that they probably produce more traffic than a 5-lot subdivision. So everybody has to be treated equally. I do agree that the constituents and the health, safety, and welfare of the public has to be considered. But on a 5-lot subdivision, I've not ever really had that be an issue. So again, with that, I'd ask that you follow the law. And I think that by the time this gets to the end of the process, whether or not it works will take care of itself. But I'll do whatever I can to make sure that it's locked down from a covenant standpoint and from a maintenance agreement standpoint so that we don't have people putting up walls across the road like I've got going on right now in Cherokee. Not a gate, but an 8-foot tall reinforced concrete wall. And we'll work through all that at the permitting phase. So.
Other questions from Mr. Scoggins from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I make a move, we deny the claim.
So a motion. Wait now.
Denies the zoning on it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I don't know, if you put conditions, enough conditions on it for required paved roads or subdivision covenants and maintenance agreements, that would be my only other recommendation. No, I'm going to take, I'm going to say it now, no.
Further discussion? All right, well, I'll call for a vote on the first motion, which was to deny with the second. All in favor of that, please raise your right hand. Motion to deny carries. Thank you, Mr. Scoggins.
Thank you.
All right, we will close that hearing. And all you good folks, if you want to stay for the next one, you're welcome to. If you enjoyed this enough, you may get
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, we close that hearing. We'll open a hearing on RZ 190893. Christine DeVault, on behalf of Rock Creek Manor. Ashley.
So RZ 190893 is Christine VanDerWalt on behalf of Rock Creek Manor. This property is located at Cagle Road South in Jasper. It is currently zoned agricultural and they're requesting to take it to highway business. It is an 8.98 acre parcel. Parcel number is 064102. The intent is to expand the existing facility that they have there, which is, I believe, a senior care facility. They want to add in memory care. So currently where it sits, you can see on the map behind you, this one is, like I said, it's right there on Cagle Mill Road South. Their existing facility is down here, which comes off of Lower Gouda. This falls into the rural residential character area, so it is compliant with that. And after reviewing the applicant's request, staff recommends approval of the rezone of the 8.98 acre tract designated as parcel 064102005 from agricultural to highway business. The adjustment will enable the development of a senior living memory care facility at Rock Creek Manor, positioned adjacent to the established living facility. This will initiate and enhance an array of services provided to.
I didn't have anybody want to speak on this particular issue.
No.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn? Who's going to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, come forward.
the husband.
Pick the back row. What's your name?
Nicholas, co-owner of Rock Creek Manor.
Okay.
As you all know, we've been there for 16 years. And the reason for this application is just to add memory care to the current services that we have right now.
You don't have memory care at the moment?
We do not.
Okay.
No, this is dedicated memory care, so it's more of a lockdown building where, access is very much controlled. Where at Rock Creek, it's not as strict for families to come and go. It's a 24-bed building. We are in the process of developing the architectural drawings on this, and it would resemble pretty much what we have on Main Street in Jasper downtown, flat roof building, old brick facade, white paint, to complement all the other properties that we have at the different addresses right now.
Memory care seems to be a growing challenge. So I'm just interested to know what types of services you provide.
So on the memory care side, you are required to have more staff. And what we have seen, especially on the south side of town, south of Ball Ground, Canton, where the prices is exorbitant of what customers have to pay down there. And we don't have any of that setting in the county right now. And I believe the services that we've provided over the last 16 years speaks for itself, and that the quality of care that we have delivered is quite a bit better than our competitors in the city limits. And on behalf of the additional staff that you have there, the building is set up specifically for people with Alzheimer's issues, to make their whole daily living a lot easier, and for the staff itself, where the structure of the rooms inside the bathrooms and everything else is a little different.
Okay. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't have anyone wanting to speak on behalf of the other way, is that correct? Y'all just good interested parties. Okay, thank you. All right, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the application be approved as presented.
We have a motion to approve as submitted. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. We will close that hearing and open up for public comments. Any public comments? Any board comments? Next month, Ashley, what's on the agenda?
Buckle up. We've got 9 for next month.
9?
That's a joke, right?
Nope. 9 cases.
And we will be bringing the mics back.
Yeah, we will. Next month we'll need them, because it'll be probably a full house.
Pack a lunch or dinner, whatever.
I was hoping Mike was through with that.
All right. Director comments are listed here. Charles?
No comments, as Ashley said, 9 cases, next month. So we have a lot of work to do. When we give you all the initial package, we encourage that you visit those sites. And then any questions that you have, please let us know. It's gonna be a long evening next month. So just give you all a heads up.
Thank you. Mrs. Scoggins, thank you for coming.
Thank you for getting mine out of the way before next month.
If you got lucky, you may not have gotten the answer you wanted, but you got lucky.
That's all right.
I wouldn't have put you at the end of that. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a move to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor? Right hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much.